Smithfield yesterday. Touch of spring for sure with Sequalo beating Curl Trees and King Marauding in the Munda. How are you, Keith?
I'm well, thanks, Bruce. Yes, and for the first time the Munda Plate was run in July and we were looking for a great clash of some great sprinters. It turned out that it was won by a pretty arrogant 3-year-old colt, Sequalo. He has come back a very good horse. Never in doubt yesterday.
Max, he does look pretty good, doesn't he, Sequalo? He's got an outstanding record, only been beaten twice, and once when they tried him at 1600, and he probably is a non-stayer.
Yes, a brilliant sprinter, but Bruce, I'd like to claim a world record for Sydney yesterday. We have unearthed the horses, the world's most consistently inconsistent racehorse.
Which one, Max? You must have backed it. Which horse?
Our Khalif.
Well, it won the last, didn't it? We'll talk about that a bit later. Can we get back to a bit of class, Max, with Sequalo leading? Keith, Curltree's fifth defence, I think he's better at Flemington. He's failed in the Oakley Plate when favourite at Caulfield, got beaten in the Blue Diamond when everything went his way with Lady Jackie-O, and beaten yesterday.
Well, in essence, it's fair to say that, Bruce, but in essence, it's also harsh to say it because yesterday he beat home King Marauding, Alanon and some other smart sprinters, and he was runner-up in the Blue Diamond at this track. But there's Sequalo, Norman Weymouth aboard. You'll see Norman give a little pat on the head to Sequalo past the post, and didn't he deserve it because he was never going to lose. The only leader to win on the program, and it was an effortless win.
So where do we go from here, Keith? I mean, early spring form can be very misleading. Which of the real fair income group horses out of that race do you think?
Well, Sequalo will be the horse to test all sprinters for the rest of the spring, there's no doubt about that. And I think he's got the measure of everything that finished behind him yesterday, Bruce. I would be most surprised if they could reverse the placings on that run yesterday.
Do you like him, Max?
Oh, you'd have to like him, Bruce, but the fact is he drew the one gate, he went straight into the box seat, led, did it easily. I think Alanon can improve. At the odds in a return bout, I'd be looking at Alanon, but what a great group of 3-year-old sprinters we've had this season.
We have, and it all goes well for the short wait for age races coming up, doesn't it, in the spring, with Ariba likely to come back. I'm not sure about Scalacci's situation. We should have some very good racing. Speaking of Scalacci, Big Sky Montana, who's also trained by Lee Friedman, wasn't she impressive? She bled, didn't she, 2 starts ago, took a break, came back, and this was a fantastic win. She's third at the moment, Lady Reality going up to lead, but this looks top class.
She was the best thing beaten I've seen this year at Flemington last start, and this is how she should have won at Flemington. Damien Oliver justifies a big betting for Big Sky Montana. She was back from 6 to 4 to evens. Her margin at the finish is a length and 3/4. Damien Oliver jumped off and said to Lee Friedman, I could have extended that by 3 lengths. Look at that. You would not see an easier win, and those who backed the short price favourite never had a worry at all.
So good enough to go outside Fillies and Mares Company, good enough to take part in maybe some of the big open sprints?
That's what Lee Friedman is hoping for, Bruce. One reservation, those who finished behind her yesterday won't be sighted in the spring.
Fair enough. Now, you've talked about our Khalif in the final event on the program, Max. The race that Tennessee Jack was going to run in but didn't because of the state of the track. Swift and Dapper, he has been reasonably consistent, hasn't he, at 1,000 metres and 1,100?
Yes, and Swift and Dapper was suited by the rain-affected conditions and was suited by the fact that he got onto the fast lane, which was about 4 off the fence. But it was a fine ride by Glenn Boss on Swift and Dapper. Kevin Moses gave the runner-up every chance. They're handy horses, but I don't think we'll be seeing them in Melbourne in the spring.
Gets a run through, doesn't he? 2 from the left here, Swift. Shows a bit of courage because he didn't look like he could win here.
He does, but that's the fast lane, Bruce. I do think that section, which was probably about 4 or 5 off the fence, was quicker than other areas of the track, and you can see him exploiting it now. A fit horse, a good horse, particularly under yesterday's conditions.
First day back for Glenn Boss, Max, after that long suspension from the Doomben 10,000.
Yes, a fine, aggressive ride yesterday, and certainly Glenn will be riding more than his share of winners in Sydney. I think the Sydney talent next season, though, will be stronger than it has been for the last. For instance, Darren Beedman will be coming back, and he's an outstanding rider.
That'll be good to see him getting back in the saddle here in Australia. Gee, Brian York was in a bit of form yesterday. This was the richest race run around in Australia yesterday. $400,000 it was worth. It was restricted company, this race in Queensland. A pretty ordinary field. I think a lot of the top ones had dropped out. Bulldog Yates, that's a funny old name for a horse, was a 6 to 4 favourite. Buck's Image, when you have a look at him, you know that he's named after Buck's Pride. He's in about 5th spot. And Miss Vively comes with a terrific run in the straight, ridden by Brian York. York's off to Hong Kong, isn't he?
Yes, he said he'd walked there if a protest against him holding this race was upheld yesterday. He didn't have any worries at all because stewards turfed it out in a record 8 seconds. 5 winners yesterday. yesterday for York, and as you said, this is the richest, Bruce, a $400,000 stake.
Yes, Whitecap getting through between Bulldog Yates on the fence and Buck's Image on the outside. And as I said, she was 50-1 when she won at Eagle Farm 3 starts ago. I don't think they're top-class horses, but there was a lot of dough around. Speaking of top-class horses, they ran last night in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes at Ascot. This race is the Cox Plate of European racing. And it was a sensation because the horse that had won the Eclipse Stakes, Azud, through Walter Swinburne from him at the start of the race. Let's take up the story.
The incident, which was to create havoc during the race, happened just moments after Azud, a notoriously unpredictable horse, had been led into the stalls. Almost immediately the gates opened, Azud appeared at the back of the field, riderless. A subsequent replay from another angle showed the horse stumbling as he came out of the stalls, catapulting Walter Swinburne out of the saddle to be kicked by other runners as he tumbled to the ground. Azud, meanwhile, went on to cause chaos further down the track by repeatedly interfering with the leaders. The eventual winner, King's Theatre, was forced to swerve several times to avoid a collision before jockey Michael Kinnan picked out a path to the winning post. Swinburne, meanwhile, was taken to hospital where X-rays revealed heavy bruising but no broken bones.
King's Theatre had been placed in the Irish and English derbies. Kinane, the jockey, had won the Melbourne Cup. But the big interest from Australia's point of view, White Muzzle, who ran second, the Italian derby winner from last year, looks like, Keith, he might come for the Melbourne Cup. And he was ridden by an old mate of yours from Japan.
Yes, young Taka, he's the film star idol of Japanese racing. If he came, half of Japan would also, Bruce. White Muzzle ran in the Japan Cup last year. He's trained by Peter Chappell-Hyam, and we'd love to see him here.
Max, top-class race. If White Muzzle comes, he'll probably be the best horse that's come out of Britain, I think, even better than Vintage Crop.
Yes, but it's not a matter of the quality of the horse. It's a matter of the weight the horse gets and how he settles down to Australian conditions, and they're the vital factors.
Just be careful, Max, with any spring predictions about European horses. You made a massive blunder last year and we've not forgotten it.
No, get it right, Keith, get it right. I didn't make a blunder about European horses. I've been spot on with European horses. It's European jockeys that I might have aired slightly.
Max, I'm going to suspend Keith for 2 weeks for a remark like that. I'll see you next Sunday. Keith, take a fortnight off.
Thank you, Bruce.
Athletics after this, Tani Ruckle.
I want it as much as anyone else. If not more than anyone else. And I know that Australians will all be cheering for me, and I really appreciate that.
Payback time.
This is just a chance.